Compounds. So compounds are two or more elements combined chemically. Okay, so if you have two or more elements that are combined chemically in some way, they form compounds. So compounds are also considered what we call pure substances, with properties different from the elements that make them. Now, pure substances are substances that are always the same composition. So compounds are pure substances and elements are pure substances. Nothing else is really considered a pure substance. Table salt, for example, we have sodium and chlorine. So you have sodium chloride, which makes table salt. That is a pure substance because it's made really from sodium and chlorine, and that's it. Water, so you have hydrogen and oxygen. So water, pure water, is a pure substance. Now, most water is not really pure. There's stuff dissolved in it, like tap water. There's all kinds of things dissolved in it. We know about chlorine in tap water, and we've heard about lead in tap water and things like that. But there's all kinds of things dissolved in the tap water. In fact, just take some water, put it in a pot on the stove, boil off the water, and you should have like a white crust kind of left behind, and that is all the minerals that are in the water that is dissolved in that tap water. Sugar. Sugar is basically a broad category of compounds, but like table sugar is made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. In fact, all sugars are made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Sugar by itself is really a class of compounds, but if we said sucrose, sucrose is a specific sugar that would have a specific composition, and that would be a pure substance as well. And over here we just kind of have to kind of highlight that the substance, the compound has different properties than the elements. We have chlorine gas, which is a greenish poisonous gas. We have sodium metal, which is a very soft metal that oxidizes very easily, turns white as soon as you cut it. You can cut it with a knife, explodes in water, that sort of thing. You mix these together and have a chemical reaction occur, and you end up with sodium chloride, which is actually a substance, a compound that we cannot live without. We have to have a certain amount of sodium chloride in our diet. So chemical formulas. So compounds are represented by chemical formulas. That's another way you know it's a compound. If you can write a chemical formula for it, it is a compound. Formulas consist of the element symbols and then subscripts showing the number of atoms of each element, with 1 being represented by no subscript. Just having the element written there stands for 1, not 0. Because if it was 0, we'd have to list every element for every compound and put in, we'd assume everything was 0 unless we put 1s. So the element being there indicates 1. So examples, table salt, sodium chloride. There's 1 sodium, there's 1 chlorine. Or chloride, once it becomes an ion, we call it chloride. We'll talk about that later. Water is H2O, so there are 2 hydrogens, 1 oxygen. And then table sugar, which is sucrose, that is a compound. Like I said, sugar is just a general name for a whole bunch of different compounds that are made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Sucrose is a specific sugar, which is 12 carbon atoms, 22 hydrogen atoms, and 11 oxygen atoms. So it's C12H22O11.